Welcome to episode 11 of Rewind Heroes. I'm your co-host Greg Compton.
And I'm your other co-host Dan Gaines. This is going to be your weekly video podcast where we talk everything, movies, music, television, everything that we find cool.
Exactly, and you know what? Today, the day we're filming this, maybe not the day you're watching this, is May 4th. So may the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with you, Dan.
You as well.
So that means summer is upon us.
Best time of year, Greg. I got to tell you, I am like a kid in a candy store this time of year. When the big time summer blockbusters out, I can't wait to get to the theater.
Oh yeah, well, we've got plenty to talk about. So before we get into our summer movie preview, let's go ahead and talk a little news. So let's roll the newsreel.
Let's do it.
So there were plenty of news stories that broke this week, but there are four in particular that we want to talk about. So Dan, why don't you start us off? What do you got?
So up first, Greg, Alicia Vikander is Lara Croft. Despite previous reports pointing toward Daisy Ridley as a potential candidate, Alicia Vikander has now signed on to play Lara Croft in the upcoming Tomb Raider reboot. The original Tomb Raider game was published in 1996 and became one of the most successful video games of all time. Well, Greg, I know we've already been blessed with two other Lara Croft films, but what's kind of your thoughts on them rebooting it and Alicia being casted in the role?
As far as rebooting Tomb Raider, I think that's a perfect Series 2 reboot. I think you could do a whole lot with this, and it could have a long run time. I mean, the games are very popular. I haven't seen much of her acting, but I hear that she's incredible. Yep. Wasn't she up for an Oscar for The Danish Girl, I think?
Yep.
So obviously acting chops are there. When I look at her, it kind of reminds me of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, just a little too slender for the part. You're thinking someone that's maybe a little more beefed up to kind of play this character, but then again, there's plenty of time for training. Maybe you don't need that. We don't know exactly the take they're going with, so I'm excited for it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, overall, I mean, I earlier this year saw Ex Machina, which starred Alicia, and she was phenomenal in that. I mean, there were a lot of people that thought she could have been nominated for that role.
Okay.
So she's got a lot of range, and I don't know, after seeing kind of their new take on, if you see some of the newer games, the way that she looks, I think she actually fits it quite well. I mean, I could see it. So I don't know, I'm excited about it. I think, like you said, Indiana Jones-esque. So there's a lot of story that I think they could tell. So overall, I think it'll be pretty good.
I think that, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I want to take a look at it. I'm not a gamer, so I'm not overly familiar with it, other than just, I think I played one of the games earlier on, but not much.
True.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So what do you have up next?
Well, get ready to be punished. Earlier this year, it was reported that Netflix was developing a Punisher spin-off set to focus on Jon Bernthal's gun-toting vigilante from Marvel's Daredevil Season 2. Well, Marvel and Netflix have now made it official, so Frank Castle is set to return in his very own series. Dan, I know you were a big fan of Daredevil. You kind of binged that. And we were both fans of the Punisher character. So what are your thoughts of a spin-off series?
Yeah, it's funny because it hasn't felt very long ago. I just got done with Daredevil, and Season 2, for me, the Punisher stole the show. So leaving the season, I thought we've got to have more of that character. So the fact that they're bringing him back, we're going to get some stories focusing in on him, learn a little bit more of his background. I'm all for it. Bring it on. I don't know if they've released any kind of timeline on exactly when it'll be, but I'll be anxiously waiting.
Yeah, I think the big focus right now is Iron Fist, because they were releasing photos of him, like the training shots and
Luke
stuff.
Cage,
and Luke Cage, I think, is coming before that. So yeah, that's their big focus now. A couple things about the Punisher. I loved it.
Yep.
This will be the darkest show that's ever been on television, I think. I also wonder if they're going to go after like a Warzone or one of these other stories that they had with the character. And I also wonder, are they going to, now that he's so popular and he's having his own series, will he be part of this spin-off series? What was it called? Defenders?
The Defenders. Yeah, I was wondering the exact same thing.
I almost hope not, because he's a different beast altogether.
Well, yeah, and I agree, because I didn't know much about them either before hearing about the show. And looking at the roster that's part of the Defenders, I don't think he'll be in that. I don't think they would try to tie too many in.
But they might try to tie in a cameo, which would be interesting.
Yeah, and that would be cool.
So what else do we have?
So he may steal the show in Spider-Man Homecoming, but will he return for Iron Man 4? After previously calling Captain America Civil War his personal Iron Man 4, Tony Stark actor Robert Downey Jr. recently told ABC News that he'd be up for a proper sequel to his own character's blockbuster franchise. In that same report, Jon Favreau, the director of Iron Man 1 and 2, now says he'd work with Marvel again for a great story. So I'm a huge fan of Iron Man. He's probably the reason I'm as big of a fan as the cinematic universe as I am.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% on board. Bring back Iron Man 4 and bring back Jon Favreau. What do you think about this?
I completely agree. I mean, there's not even too much to say about it other than, the character is just done so well by Robert Downey Jr. And Favreau is an amazing director. I thought the second movie kind of lacked a bit, but I think, honestly, to me, it was for the villain, and it was the casting of the villain. Yeah. Those were my issues with it. I thought a lot of the rest was good, and they went to the alcoholism thing, which is true to the comics. Mm-hmm. Maybe that was a little quick to go that dark early in the Marvel universe. Sure. But I've really, even the third one, now that was, I think, Shane Black did that.
Yep.
Loved that. I'm all for it. More Iron Man is good for me, so I'm into it.
I kind of had the same nitpicks as you, because I felt like the second one was, we've got a monster hit with this character that a lot of people weren't familiar with. We've got to get a sequel out there as fast as possible. And you got to wonder if Favreau's heart was even in that project, or was it like, you got to get this thing made?
Yeah.
So the fact that now he's had a little bit of a break from Marvel, can have an opportunity to come back with Robert Downey, I think there's a lot of potential for another great film. And obviously Robert Downey enjoys playing this role, so why not keep making them?
I'm with you.
So what's up next?
Well, the Doctor has a new companion. Who could it be? That's right, it's Pearl Mackie, a relative unknown, is going to be playing the character called Bill. Her character was recently introduced in a short promotional video showing Bill and the Doctor escaping an attack by the Daleks, which, Dan, you don't know, but are one of the Doctor's most iconic villains. So you're not a big Doctor Who fan, so there's probably not a lot not a lot for you to probably contribute on that, but I did show you the intro video. Yeah. And what'd you think of the way they introduced the character?
Yeah, I was going to say, I probably don't know much about the character itself, but as far as rolling out a new character and introducing the fan base, I thought it was genius. I mean, to just take a small snippet and give them a glimpse of who this character may be and how they'll interact. I think they need to do this with a lot more things, not just Doctor Who. It was a really, really cool way of doing that.
I agree, and I'm guessing this whole scene was just shot specifically for this and probably not in anything. Sure. Because if you remember, I mentioned the only Doctor Who you're getting this year is the Christmas special, but then apparently she'll be introduced in that, and then we'll be seeing more of her in the next series, which will be in 2017 with the new showrunner, which... there's rumor that might be Capaldi's last run as the Doctor, and then we're refreshing it up. So will she be there for one season? Will she be a carryover? The companions come and they go. There's been multitude of personalities. I will say there was a little backlash when you read comments with her character, just because it almost borderline annoying the questions she was asking. But then again, if you're thrown in that world, what else are you going to say? I mean, so the companion is supposed to be really our entryway into the Doctor's universe. This character that could go space, time, and you need somebody that's just kind of, I guess, normal that can ask those questions. So I'm going to sit there and say I'm reserving judgment. Sure. A bit of a Cockney accent was a little hard for me to understand her at times because she spoke quicker than I do, and I was having trouble with that. But then again, I had trouble. I had trouble catching Capaldi's words when he first became the Doctor with his stronger accent than some of the others. So it may just
be a matter of getting more familiar with how she speaks.
and he spoke kind of low tones in the beginning, so it might be that. But sure. I think it's cool. Let's see. It's a varied character. Kind of reminds me of Donna, which was more the comical relief. So I'm all about it. I think that's all our news stories right now. So I think maybe we should go ahead and flip into our summer blockbuster review, whatever we want to call it. We're talking movies.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
So Greg, we're in the month of May, which only means that it is summer blockbuster season. We're getting ready to have 3 months of action-packed summer blockbusters. Mm-hmm. So we thought it'd be fun for you guys if we took a look, there's a lot of movies to choose from, at what each of our top 5 most anticipated films would be. So Greg, you want to kind of get us up and running?
Well, yeah, I think the first one that's the most obvious pick for everybody is Captain America Civil War. And I'm really pumped for that. I think we won't talk too much about it today because we're going to probably go check this out and hopefully talk about it next week. So yeah, what's your first pick on this?
Yeah, mine by far is Civil War. I cannot wait to see these characters clash. Everything, all the early buzz has been that this movie's phenomenal. I have a hard time not getting excited about it for a lot of the reasons that we just talked about with Iron Man. So that's definitely number 1 for me. Number 2 would have to be Jason Bourne. I know we kind of talked about that a couple weeks ago, so we won't get too in depth with that one as well. But what's kind of your thoughts?
I agree. That's also number 2 on my list. Yeah, some of these we're just going to kind of fly through because you don't need to hear what we talked about before, and we'll review them after we see them. But yeah, I'm just so pumped for a new Jason Bourne movie, so that's definitely on my list. What is number 3 for you?
Yeah, so I love summer blockbuster films because they're turn your brain off, just good entertainment on a hot summer day, and Independence Day Resurgence is right there for me. I want to go see the monuments exploded. I want to see Jeff Goldblum back on the silver screen. So for me, that one's way up on the list. How about you?
Yeah, and we've talked about that. I think it's going to be. I think that's going to be fun. I'm going a little different twist here, but I really want to see The Secret Life of Pets.
That looks phenomenal.
It looks great. I mean, that trailer is great. Now I have 2 boys, so I mean, I'm putting this on there too because I cannot wait to have that experience with my children. One is 6, one is 2.5. So whether or not he goes, I'm not sure. But the 6-year-old is pumped for it. They love watching that trailer when the poodle, when it's like, Leonard will be back. He's playing classical music, hits the death metal. Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be wonderful.
In fact, it was a couple weeks ago. I was at Jungle Book, so it was a very family-friendly crowd. And there's children all through the theater, obviously. So that trailer pops up, and I literally had tears in my eyes laughing at certain parts of that trailer.
And I mean, we have a dog and a cat, and my kids, it's just, I think it's going to be perfect.
Hilarious.
What's your next pick?
Yeah, so 4th, we'll have to. Initially, I wasn't as excited about this because I've kind of been getting a little burnt out. But then the latest trailer dropped for X-Men Apocalypse. And I don't know, I had all the feels after seeing this latest trailer. I'm excited to kind of see, I'm assuming this is going to kind of be the final chapter of this trilogy, if you will. And it just seems like there's going to be a lot of destruction going on. I'm seeing a theme in my films, Independence Day. Maybe I like to see things blow up. But I'm excited to see. I need therapy. And even the tease of Wolverine being back kind of got me pumped about it because he's by far the best. So that has to be on mine. Now,
just so awesome that Professor X's hair just blows up. No, I'm excited to see that. Not so much whether I'll see that one in the theater, I'm not sure. There are aspects of it that I'm interested in, and the trailer did make me happier about it. You know what, since I was talking about a movie with my kids, there's actually 2 this year that I really want to see. So not just that, but Finding Dory, the Finding Nemo sequel. Partly I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But secondly, it's going to make a lot of money. It's going to make a big splash at the box office. So I think somebody needed to mention that movie. So I think I'm looking forward to it.
And it's funny, can you believe that movie, Finding Nemo, was 14 years ago?
It's insane.
That does not, when I read that, because I was reading an article and they were saying, obviously 14 years ago we did not ever sit down and say, when we make the sequel in 15 years. So it's just funny how this one's kind of...
Well, and now we're going to be getting an incredible sequel supposedly is in the works too, and I'm really excited for that. Just introduced my kids to that for the first time a couple weeks ago. They loved it. But I think it is funny that with Finding Dory, it's taken so long, but it didn't take long to get a Cars sequel or a Plane sequel. I digress. But Ellen DeGeneres, I know, kept saying that, calling for a sequel. Hey, I'm available. Give me a call. Give me a call. And here she gets to voice, once again, Dory. So, I think it's going to be a really fun movie. And let's see, we've got one more piece then, all right? What else you got?
The last one for me, I'm a huge comic book movie fan, so that's usually my summer consists of this. But this is one I'm excited to see it, but I also have reservations about it, and that's Suicide Squad. This is one that we've heard a lot of buzz about. Trailers have looked okay. I mean, there's times where I'm like, maybe. But I'm very interested in seeing it. I want to see how they pull this off. How do you make a movie about all these anti-heroes, but then you read these reports and then they went too dark, they got to make it funny. So I'm excited to see it just because I'm interested to see it, not because I think it's going to be great.
Right.
Do you have any interest in it?
I'll rent it.
Okay.
No, I'm curious what they do with it. I'm curious to see how they integrate Batman into it.
That's the thing,
I do want to see the Joker impression, or not impression, but his take on the Joker.
Sure.
So I don't know, Suicide Squad. I just hope the ending doesn't keep us hanging.
What's your last one?
My last one, we've talked about this before, they just released another trailer for it, is it's not probably a blockbuster film, but The Shallows, with Blake Lively. And of course, they showed too much in the next trailer, so if you haven't seen that yet...
from Jaws.
Yeah, if you want, I mean, we know shark, water, she's on this little piece of rock. That's all you need to know. I would not watch the trailer. If I could do it over again, I probably wouldn't watch the second one.
I agree.
But no, I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be tense. fun as in like, not, I mean, it's like, hey, look, that person's gonna get eaten by a shark.
Yeah.
No, but I just mean.
Probably not one to take the kids. Look at how much fun she's having out there.
Exactly. Yeah, Secret Life of Aquatic Not Pets.
Oh, God.
I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those edge of your seat movies, kind of a fun little thrill to kind of jump a couple of times and just spill some popcorn. I don't know. I'm excited for it. So, and it's kind of, it's not the explosive film and all that. So it's just another something different.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it. Well, those are the ones that we are really interested in. Mm-hmm. Tell us what you're interested in. You can get us online. Let us know what movies you're looking forward to, and
yeah. I mean, I think that's what's cool about this time of year is right now we're talking about movies that we are excited about, but it's always interesting to see. There's movies right now that you and I aren't talking about that we don't even really know much about, or or think we're not excited about. And there's going to be one that just hits, and it's going to be a massive success. It happens every year.
I mean, there is that one with I cannot even recall the name yet, so I won't even put a poster behind us. But the George Clooney one. With
Money Monster, I believe.
Something like that. That looked really interesting. I mean, those really aren't blockbusters, but I think there's just going to be cool movies coming out.
It's just a good time to get out and go to the theater.
Yeah, the Don Cheadle, Miles Ahead. I really want to see that. That actually came out April 1st, I saw. Probably a bit of an art film, but I mean, things that I'm interested in.
Definitely.
So yeah. So I think that's basically, we got a lot to look forward to this summer. I think right now we should go to some recommendations.
Well, before you do that,
yeah,
just make sure you tune in next week because we will have our review up for Captain America Civil War.
That's
That'll kind of be
right.
our first summer movie review. So
that's true.
Be sure to check back.
Check it out. And why don't you watch some of the others, unless you're one of the 20 people that is actually watching. Yeah. All right. Let's go to some recos. All right, Dan, time for recommendations. I've got one, you got one. Let's start with you. What do you got?
Well, mine's kind of fitting for today because we are shooting on Star Wars Day. And yesterday I just got in the mail the new novel, the new canon Star Wars novel, Bloodline. This is written by Claudia Gray, who also had written Lost Stars. If you haven't seen that or read that, please do. But it's a novel that takes place 6 years before the events of The Force Awakens, and it's taken kind of from the perspective of Leia and what's going on with the New Republic and the new Senate. I have not sat down to start it, but I'm recommending it because everything I've read reviewing this book has had nothing but great things to say. It's the story that we wanted that's going to fill in some of the gaps that the movie did not. So I'm extremely excited to read this, so please check out Star Wars Bloodline.
All right.
What do you got?
Well, I'll go ahead and throw out an album there. It's not new. Maybe I think it came out last year, but I just recently got into it. But an album called Strange Desire by The Bleachers.
Okay.
And The Bleachers, this is definitely, I call them the new 80s. There are lots of bands that kind of have that retro 80s sound. Not really the retro wave movement, but this is just has that hint of it. But it's led by Jack Antonoff, who is the guitarist for Fun, I believe.
Okay. Oh,
and
man, I love that.
Yeah, and what I find that's really interesting about this is I started kind of when I looked into the band and started following things back, because I thought his voice sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so he's the guitarist for Fun. Hey, the guitarist for Fun used to lead a band called Steel Train.
Okay.
Steel Train didn't really go very far, but they were the opening act for OAR when my wife and I went down to St. Louis to see OAR. It's the third time I've seen them. It was on our third anniversary. Just did a weekend down there to see OAR play a free show under the arch. And and so we went, and here's this opening band, never heard of them, out in New York. Really, really good. Really good. It was, I think, 3 or 4 guys in the band. Anyway, when we were done with the whole show and we're walking out, there's the merchandise table. And here's this guy, and he's the lead singer from the band, and he's basically selling the merchandise, and nobody else is around there at the time. So we walk up there, I buy a CD, he signs it, we start talking music for about 10, 15 minutes. Really nice guy, really good conversation. Yeah, so he's the lead singer for the Bleachers, looking that up. And I think he was like dating, what's her name, Lena Dunham, whatever. Yeah, the one that
Girls?
is from Girls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's got all these collaborations with people. He's writing stuff deals. So Bleachers are actually pretty big. And I just thought that was kind of cool.
Cool.
When I realized that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna buy the whole album, check it out,
cool.
and it's great. I'd suggest I Want to Get Better is a really good track. So is Roller Coaster. Love those. So and Wild Heart. So check it out. They also have an album. I can't remember what it's called, something Thrills, where they took the same songs but had different female artists sing them. So the same mixes, just took out his vocals and added like Sarah Bareilles, all these other artists doing the songs. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, so that's what I've got.
Excellent.
Well, that pretty much does it for our show. Where can they find you on the old interwebs?
So you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, simply at Dan Games. I think that's mainly for me, but if you also want to check us out on our Facebook page, Rewind Heroes, post what you know. We love feedback. We want to hear things. We want to know that you guys are watching. Where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at gcompton007. And yeah, you could email us at rewindheroes@gmail.com. So yeah, until then though, until next time, until we talk about Captain America Civil War.
Cannot wait.
Be kind.
And please, rewind.